Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us today on this fall day of 2022 for a conversation and presentation with Eric Embark. Eric is a researcher at CIRAD and the publisher of Fruit Drop magazine. I am Emiliano Escobedo. I am the executive director of the Avocado board. And if you haven't already done so, please make sure to click the subscribe button so that you can get the latest webinars from the Avocado board. Also with me today is my colleague, John McGuigan. He's the Director of Industry Affairs. John?
Hello, folks. It's a pleasure to have with us today a very good friend of the Avocado board, Eric Embark from CIRAD, who will be sharing a presentation entitled Avocado, About to Embark on a Balancing Act. And he'll share his presentation, World Market Prospects for the Medium-Long Term, 2021 through 2028. Back in 2021, Eric and his team at CIRAD published a comprehensive article about this topic, and it's available at our website, www.haasavocadoboard.com. Today, he'll be presenting key insights from that article with some updated figures that CIRAD has compiled since that article was published in 2021.
Yeah, and Eric, thank you so much for being with us today. For those that are watching today and don't know much about you or your work, can you just please give us a quick rundown of your background and your professional history?
Sure. Yes, thank you very much first, Emiliano and John, for the invitation, and hello to everybody. So I'm Eric Embark. I work for 20 years for a French investigation center that is called CIRAD. I am in charge of a small department which is developing a survey, let's say, about the international fruit trade with a great focus on avocado, banana, and also citrus. Formerly, I have worked for, let's say, 10 years for a French fruit importer.
Okay, so that's great experience. And we love all the work that you have done for the Avocado board, all those great articles, as John mentioned, they're on the Avocado board website. If you haven't already seen them, make sure to check them out, and there will be more coming. Well, Eric, thank you so much. We now look forward to your presentation.
So thank you very much, John and Emiliano, for giving me the opportunity to present this study, which is describing the possible evolution of the world avocado market. I thank you especially because I really think that this study is very important for the stakeholder of the industry. Why? Because we have very serious indications that the market structure has begun to change. Indeed, production that was not developing fast enough until this very last season to follow the incredible increase of the demand appears to go too fast now. So let's begin with the presentation. Before presenting the study, I think it's quite relevant to have to underline the main characteristic of the world avocado market. So let's begin by this short few slide introduction about the characteristic of the world avocado market, and then we will go to the study by itself. So first of all, what are we talking about when we speak about the avocado market? In fact, it's an average market in volume in the fruit universe, with 2.5 million tons exported in 2021. It's a little less than 4% of the international fruit trade. As you can see, the avocado trade rank 8th position in the fruit trade, far below banana, apple, oranges, soft citrus, grape, pineapple, and pears. However, as you can see also, if we speak about turnover, the situation is quite different because the position of the avocado market is much more relevant. As you can see, it comes in 4th position with around $6.6 billion in 2021, below banana, grapes, and apple. And it represents about 8% of the global fruit trade in value. The main point to underline when we speak about the avocado market is, of course, its extraordinary dynamism for a very long period now of about 10 years. As you can see on this chart that do represent the evolution of the avocado trade worldwide, we have a sharp acceleration of the growth, let's say from 2011 to 2012. We were, before this period, at around 55,000 tons increase by year. From 11 and 12, we reach 180,000 tons by year. It means that during this 10-year period, we gain, the avocado trade gained something like 1.5 million tons. It has been multiplied by 2.5, thanks to an incredible growth rate when compared to the other fruit. We have an average yearly increase for the avocado trade of around 12% by year. In comparison, the global food trade has increased during the same period by 2% by year. If we speak about turnover, the increase is even more marked. As you can see, it has been multiplied by 3, $5 billion more in 10 years to reach a little less than $7 billion in 2021. Of course, with such an enormous turnover, the avocado market has an enormous economic and social side effect, especially in the producing country. As you can see, I haven't included the information for 21-22, just because it's a very atypical season. Indeed, we had a very sharp decrease of the Mexican production during season 21-22, and it led to a stagnation of the world trade at 2.5 million tons. So the season 21-22 is not representative at all for the analysis. Let's have a look now from where do all this volume come from. As you can see, and it's not a surprise, the main part of the export comes from Latin America, which is the area of origin of the 3 races of avocado. The rest of the world occupy a very limited market share of around 6% for the Mediterranean and also 6% for Africa. We have also some limited volume exported from Oceania, New Zealand, and also a bit Australia. When we look at the export by country, you can see that we have a player which is especially relevant, which is of course Mexico. With 1.5 million tons exported in 2021, Mexico represents alone around 60% of the world trade. Then come Peru and Colombia. It's interesting to see that Peru, Colombia, and also Jalisco are relatively new players. They are newcomers. Just to give you some statistics, 10 years ago, Peru was exporting 60,000 tons. In 21-22, in 22, the season that has just finished, Peru will be certainly above 500,000 tons. Colombia and Jalisco in 10 years ago were even not exporting. They weren't appearing on the radar of the world trade. So newcomer and really fast growing. Then come Chile with in fact a very low crop in 2021. The normal export of Chile are above 100,000 tons. And then other areas which are all below 100,000 tons. However, if we look at the data of the 2021-22 season on the export side, it's interesting to see that we have a very sharp development of the Mediterranean exporters, especially Israel. The Israeli exports last season were around 130,000 tons. So a sharp increase of the production also is taking place in the Mediterranean. Where do all this volume go? So it's very easy, in fact, because when we speak about the avocado market, we have in fact 2 main markets. The US, of course, which is absorbing about 1/2 of the world exports, and also Europe, with Europe, I mean the European Union at 27 plus UK, which is absorbing something something like 1/3 of the global world exports. If you had Canada and Japan, you have 10% more. So it means that all these 4 players are absorbing 90% of the world trade. The rest of the world is extremely limited in size less than 10% or around 10% of the world trade only, even if the population is extremely strong. Eastern Europe is around 60,000 tons, South America 60,000 tons, Asia also 60,000 tons, with the Chinese market that don't have some more than 35,000 tons, Central America 45, and the Gulf country around 40. So it's important to notice that the world market is based only on two pillars, the US and the European Union. If we speak about the dynamism of the market, also you can see that the dynamism, the engine of the market are mainly North America and the European Union. This last season, as you can see on this chart that do represent the growth, the global growth of the market and the share of this global growth by area, by market, you can see that 80% of the world growth has been absorbed by North America, the European Union plus UK. So it means that we have no, for the moment, powerful growth driver that are susceptible to replace or to accompany the development of the US and the European market. You see that Japan, the rate of increase is very limited, around 6% by year. China, everybody is speaking about China, but the Chinese market is increasing very, very slowly, 3% by year. The same for Latin America, and the same for the Persian Gulf. We have some markets which have begun to take off, such as Eastern Europe and the other Asian market. I mean, Korea and Thailand, for example. However, they are very limited in size. So it means that all the growth of the production that will come in the coming year has to be absorbed again by the two leaders, I mean, North America and the European Union. Let's switch now to the study and let's have a look to what could go on regarding production and demand till 2028. You can find the whole of the analysis in the Fruit Drop edition of September 2021. First of all, what is the situation regarding the world avocado orchard just for export variety? I mean, Hass and over exported green variety. We estimate in our study the size of the world avocado orchard around 415,000 hectares in 2021. No surprise again, as you can see, Latin America is representing 3/4 of the orchard. Then come the Mediterranean with around 9%, 38,000 hectares. Then Africa, 7%. California, and finally Oceania. What is very important and what is a capital information regarding the evolution of the production in the coming year is the sharp increase of the acreage of the planting we had this last year. As you can see, the planting during the period running for 14-15 to 2021 has been around 130,000 hectares. 130,000 hectares in only 6 years. Just to compare, during the same 6-year period, between 8 and 9 and 14-15, the increase was around 55,000 hectares. So it means that the rate of planting has been multiplied by more than 2 in the last years. And we already begin to feel the consequences. And especially in Europe. Why especially in Europe? Because Europe is a very open market. We have around 12 supplying countries above the 10,000 season mark to supply the European market, compared to the US, for example, where of course Michoacan and now Mexico is representing the main part of the supply. So what can we see in Europe? First of all, we can see an increasing and sharply decreasing prices during the summer season. It's what you can see in this small chart that do represent the volumes that are traded during the summer season. It's the yellow bars, and the evolution of the average price is the red curve. As you can see, we have a total change regarding the trends. We were running at the middle of the last decade around 12 to 30 euro as an average price. And as you can see, since 2020, prices, the average price has never ceased to decrease. And our expectation, the first indication we have for the 2022 season that has just finished, will confirm the decrease with a record low price at around 8.5 euro per 4 kilo box. We begin also to have the same indication, even if less marked, when we have a look to the winter season. As you can see, the volume continued to increase. It's again the yellow bar. However, since last season, 21-22, where we get a great pressure for South America and also for the very first time, a great pressure from the Mediterranean, prices have decreased very significantly. And we are last season with an average price, which is within the lowest ever recorded during the last 10 years. But let's have a look a bit more globally. And if we look at the world market and we try to see also the evolution of the volume traded, the yellow bar again, and the evolution of the turnover, we see already this change. Look, we see that even we have a sharp increase of the volume since 16-17. Indeed, the market has gained a very nice volume, around 800,000 tons. However, if you look at the turnover, the growth is much lower than in the past, and we only gain around $500 million in value. So there is something happening. That's exactly why we decided to try to quantify the production increase. We know it's a very complicated work. So for that, our ambition are, let's say, reasonable. What I will present you today is just an exploratory analysis under certain hypotheses, trying to catch the main trends. A few words about methodology. I know it's boring to speak about methodology, but I guess it's important because it's worth to understand the way we have worked. First of all, first point, very important for us, we have worked with data from the ground. I mean, acreage, yield, factors that may influence the acreage and also the yield. It's not at all a statistical approach based on prolonging the production trends. Also, something which is very relevant for us is the information sources. We don't want to use the standard and often bad quality generic database. We use firstly, when it was possible, the data collected by ourselves, and especially thanks to a CIRAD and Avocado board project we have developed since 2019, sorry, to draw country files, to try to see what was the situation in the leading exporting country. You can find this country file on the Avocado board website. When data collected by ourselves were not available, we try to identify and get access to the best information sources available, if any. We are quite satisfied with the information and the quality of the information we get. We have more than 80% of the information that we judge at least acceptable. We have some issues regarding two countries, Morocco and Kenya, because there is absolutely no information available, just feeling of professional. But those two countries only represent 5% of the world trade. And we have also no information for Ecuador, Guatemala, Dominican Republic, but that are quite limited player regarding us. Step one of the methodology was to estimate the producing acreage by country and by year for the period running from 21 to 28. The producing acreage is the acreage of tree in full swing plus the acreage of young tree. So for that, we had a model of production rise of a new orchard. In fact, a global model to simplify the analysis. We estimate the following yield evolution pattern. The trees enter in production at 3 years, with 10% of the full potential. At 4 years, they are at 33% of the full potential, 66 at 5, and full production at 100. The second step, and we extrapolate the acreage to 2025, thanks to planting hypothesis during the period running from 21 to 25. Step 2 was estimating the exportable production with a very simple calculation, in fact, multiplying the producing acreage by the export yield, taking into account yield and yield evolution hypothesis by country. Let's have a look to the result now. You can see it on this slide that do represent the increase of the hectare in full production by year. You can see a total change. In 16-17, the increase was around 11 to 12,000 hectares by year. In 2021, from 2021, we are running between 19 to 20,000 hectares in full swing by year. Why? Because it's very easy. Almost all the players are up apart Chile and California. We have a decreased plantation of the plantation rhythm in California, in Michoacan, however, still a nice increase. We have a very sharp increase of the newcomers, especially Colombia, Jalisco, and also Morocco. And we have already a steady growth or even an acceleration of the historical players such as Peru, Israel, South Africa, and Spain. What we can see also in our projection is that this rhythm will remain steady or even increase in the coming year to reach a maximum in 2025 at 23,000 hectares by year. Let's have a look to our estimate of the exportable production, to the growth of the exportable production. As you can see, the increase is even more marked. Indeed, we were in 16-17 around 140,000 exportable tons increase by year. From 21-22, we will be around 270, 275. Why? Because we don't have only an increase in the acreage, but also an increase in productivity. Why? Because we have an improvement of the production practices in some countries, and also the main part of the new orchards that have been planted this last year have a very big production potential. We speak about clonal tree, very innovative production techniques. So for that, we decided regarding yields that, for example, Michoacan will change from 10.5 to 11 tons by hectares. In Spain, we estimate an increase of 7.5 to 9, and in Colombia, from 9 to 11.5. So our estimate is that this increase of the growth of the yearly growth of the world trade will increase even further in the future to reach around 310,000 tons in 2024. So 2028 in a snapshot, so it's very easy. As you can see, according to our hypothesis and our projection, the exportable production should be somewhere around 5 million tons. So it's 2 times the size of the world export in 2021. Regarding the size of the orchard in full production, we should be around 440,000 hectares, 1.5 the time of the size of the orchard in full swing in 2020. Let's switch now to our projection for demand. What is the methodology we used? In fact, we had no choice in this case, and we had to prolong the last season trends, however, paying a special attention to the key market. So in step 1 of the methodology, we calculate the growth of the world exchange for the leading market, an average of the last 4 season growths. This information is based on custom statistics, and it only takes into account the imports of the market. So it means that the local production of the producing country commercialized locally is not included. We came to the conclusion that the US market has increased of around 70,000 tons during this period, 70,000 tons by year, a bit less for the European Union, 63, and all the other market below 10,000 tons. In step 2 of the methodology, we have decided to analyze the results, taking into, in fact, a critical analysis, taking into account the key consumption trends of those countries. The question was, does this trend appears to be possible or not? We have done this job for the US because, of course, it's half of the world trade, the European Union, one third of the world trade, and also China. Let's have a look to what we have seen. First of all, beginning by the US. Beginning by the US with a very simple with a very simple question. Is the US market able to continue to increase so fast with such an already high consumption by capita? As you can see, we were very close in 2021 to 4 kilo by capita. We are very optimistic about the continuation of such a significant growth. Why? First of all, because the tools to continue to increase sharply are here. We have, the US have an enormous promotion budget thanks to these wonderful machines that is the HAB, around $80 million by year. Also, there is some very fast-growing segments such as the small fruit in net. Also, something very important is that the potential consumer are also here. First of all, because we will have an increase of the number of consumer in the US just because of the increase of the population, which is estimated by the official sources around 30 million new consumer in 2030. Within 2/3 of this population of Hispanic origin, which is, of course, a population which is over-consuming avocado. Also, something very important that has been shown by the HAB study is that the percentage of over-consumer is increasing. And it's very important because even if these households are representing 28% only of the global household, they are representing 70% of the sales. Also, something which is very encouraging, that there is more and more non-Hispanic people entering into this category. And also, last but not least, there is still an enormous, very good potential of growth on the East Coast. Look at the map that show the consumption by region. You can see that in the East Coast, we are still running between 2 to 3 kilo per capita compared to, for example, to the West at more than 4, South Central close to 5, and California above 8. So we decided to validate the hypothesis of conserving a very strong growth in the US market. Let's have also this critical analysis for the European Union. The average consumption is far lower in Europe. However, we have serious doubt about an increase at the same rate as in the past. Why? We have also in Europe a nice instrument to promote the avocado. However, unfortunately, the budget is still by far too low for the moment. You remember, US has $80 million for 330 million people. In Europe, we have 2.3 million euro. That means with the current exchange rate, $2.3 million, and only and for more than 500 million people. Also, there is a very specific phenomenon in Europe which is directly linked to this lack of promotion, is that we observe a cap on the growth on the most developed market. Look at the growth in the newcomers, in the country where consumption is already low. For example, countries such as Germany, Italy, and also East Europe. The rate is extremely strong, around 20% by year. However, look at the growth of the most developed market of the continent. France, for example, and Nordic country. Consumption is above 2 kilo per capita. However, the growth rate is far below than the other market. 8% by year in France, and also only 4% in the Nordic country. So we have to take this into account. We have also something very special that occurred last season in 21-22 is a new challenge: inflation. Of course, this challenge is worth for all the world market. However, we already see the first effect in Europe in 21-22. Remember, I spoke about Germany at 20% during the period 15-20. Last season, Germany was almost done or at least stable. So what will be the consequences in 2023 in a context of a 20% decrease of the supply? We will see. However, we can have serious doubt about a continuation of a very strong growth rate in Europe. So regarding Europe, we haven't kept the hypothesis calculated on the 4-year average. We have decided to reduce the German growth at 6% when passing the 2 kilo per capita steps. We also have decided to include a recovery of the UK because we hope that thanks to the end of the Brexit saga, the UK will recover. For the other, we kept the last 4 season growth rates that takes into account the slowdown of some market. So for Europe, we have decided to shift from a 12% increase by year to an 8% for the period 24-28. Finally, regarding the hypothesis, we have also decided to increase the growth for China. You can see it's absolutely not what we can observe for the moment. You see on the green curves that represent the import of China, that the market hasn't increased at all in 2020. The 2021 data show a recovery, but only at the level we had in 2018. However, we consider that there is a high potential because, of course, of a large population and also a large population with good income. We also have to consider the investment in infrastructure that are one of the weak points of the Chinese market. Some company have begun to build some cold storage, some ripening facility. It will definitely help. Also, we have to take into account the investment in consumer education made by those same company. So we decided for China to change the hypothesis, the calculation by a 20,000 ton increase by year during the period 2022 to 2028. Let's have a look for all the other market, we follow the calculation based on the 4 season trends. What are the results? So globally, we estimate that the world trade should be around 3.6 million tons in 2028, with, by market, an increase of about 500,000 tons in the US, 400,000 tons in the UK and the European Union, and 400,000 tons for the rest of the world. Let's come to the conclusion now, and let's have a look to the comparison of the growth of the production and the growth of the demand. And you see that we are changing of world. We are shifting from a balanced situation, is what you can see in 2020, to a very unbalanced situation. In fact, the gap should be of around 200,000 tons. The gap would be around 80 to 100,000 tons from now on. Production is increasing much faster than the demand now. So to conclude, just a few words. First of all, it's important to remain that it's a very complicated study. Lots of parameters have to be taken into account. There is lots of uncertainties. Our ambition is only to show a direction. However, the delta between the additional supply and the demand is very large. So the hypothesis of a major oversupply is highly possible. Also, what has to be considered is what can be really counted, but that can affect the projection. First of all, the impact of the climate change. It can really affect the industry in some country over a long period. Look at what we saw for years in Chile now because of the drought. What took place this summer in Spain also. And on the contrary, also the very abnormal high rainfall we observe in Colombia these last 2 years, and who are reducing very significantly the yield. So it's a first parameter which is impossible to take into account into the projection, but that should play a significant role. Also, we have also to take into account the new regulation and consumer expectation, especially those related to sustainability. It should play a role regarding the access to some market. We could have, for example, in Europe, carbon or water footprint regulation entering into force. Will all the suppliers be able to come to Europe in such condition? We have also to take into account the move of the consumer towards local production. If we speak about Europe, we have a very limited production, local production in Europe, just Spain, and also a little Portugal and Greece. So will this trend affect the imported products and also avocado in a market such as Europe? And also something which has to be taken into account is the image of the product. We have some polemics about the avocado, and the product is not defended enough in some market for the moment, and especially in Europe. So to conclude, I don't want to be pessimistic. This study is really a warning, but it's still really time to act. First of all, how to act? First of all, to decrease the plantation needed. It's really very important. We can say that it's absolutely not the case for the moment. I have just finished a first estimate about the planting in 21-22, and in spite of all the indication of a changing market, the planting rate has increased last season up to 30,000 hectares. Also, we have to take into consideration the main strength of the avocado market, the huge margin of consumption growth that are existing everywhere in the world. In the foreign Asian markets that are still for the moment quite difficult to exploit. However, also in Europe, remember that in Europe, the average consumption is around 1.5 kilo per capita only, compared to for an example, close to 4 kilo in the US. Also, the local and regional market of the producing countries could be a solution. To conclude, I think that the only key word is promotion. We have to continue the HAB action in the USA, and also to strengthen the effort outside, and especially in Europe. More budget is needed, and also it's important to notice that we have we have very strong evidence of the avocado benefits, which can really help a lot. Thank you very much for your attention.
Welcome back. And Eric, that was a fantastic presentation analysis. I really commend you for taking on the challenge of trying to project global production and demand. I am sure that a lot of people here in the United States and frankly other countries will appreciate all of your insights that you shared with us today. I have one question for you, and then I'm going to turn it over to John for his question. My question is, what country or region around the world will you see the highest growth rate over the next 5 years? And is there any area that seems to be going over, the other way around in terms of declining in production, whether it's acreage or, the production volume itself?
That's a very good question, Emiliano. And, we just finished some kind of update about the increase of acreage in the world leading exporting countries. And I am afraid that the trend hasn't changed at all. I mean, the main part, not to say all the exporting countries, have continued to plant quite a lot of avocado these last years. There are maybe two exceptions, Chile and California. But regarding all the rest of the world, planting have continued at a very big pace these last years, with more specifically 3 countries that have planted, let's say, more than 6,000 hectares by year. I mean Michoacan, I mean Colombia, and also Peru. So the rate of growth of the world orchard is still continuing to be very, very strong. And it means that in the coming years, we will continue to have a great development of the production. And that's a major trait, of course.
Thank you. Yeah, it sounds like we have quite a bit of work to do on the demand side, for sure. Keep it up with production. John?
Yeah, Eric, well, that leads me to my question about demand. And I guess my question is, in your professional opinion, what markets do you see that have the highest potential for growth? But more importantly, what resources and what actions would it take to maximize the growth in those market areas?
Thanks, John. I really think that it's a big strength of the avocado market, that the potential of growth is still enormous. And I think that you at the HAB has shown the way. I mean, you have built some kind of magic recipes to increase the consumption, a great promotion budget, and also a very strong pitch based on scientific facts to show all the good point of avocado. I mean, the health benefit of avocado, and now also what you have begun to develop regarding sustainability. And I think that it's really, really powerful. And it will definitely lead to an increase of consumption in the world market. But what is missing outside the US is the promotion budget. Because if you look at the consumption per capita, there is definitely big margin. Let's just speak about Europe. Europe is consuming 1.5 kilo in average per year, where you in the States are at 4 kilo per year. We have in Europe, for example, Italy, around 60 million people, which is consuming only 700 grams per year. Germany, 80 million people consuming only 1.3 kilo. So you see there is a big margin of growth in Europe. And also, of course, outside Europe, the Asian market has just begun to discover avocado. It's true that for the moment, the growth is not really strong, but thanks to more education of the consumer, more investment in infrastructure, there is definitely a great future for consumption of avocado in Asia. Also, the local market of the producing countries, the regional market in South America, have also a great potential. So I really think that the problem is not to find growth potential, is to find budget for promotion.
I mean, we agree with that. We have seen tremendous growth here in the United States because of that promotion. And like you said, it's the magic recipe. And it's not just for the great guacamole recipes that we have on our website, but it's getting everybody to chime in and to put money into developing the market. Eric, thank you so much. That is all the time that we have for today. John, thanks for being here also. And thank you all for sharing your knowledge and your insights. And for those of you that are watching, please remember to click the subscribe button so that you can get notified about future HAB webinars. And that's it for the day. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.